Princess Sarati stood before the marble dais, her heart steady despite the millions of eyes upon her. Today marked her 18th cycle under Valera's twin sons, a moment she had imagined since childhood. She wore a simple white gown that brushed the ground like soft clouds, and in her hands she held a canvas framed by polished silver. On that canvas, she had painted the first scene her eyes ever saw, a human and a Valian standing side by side, hands joined in friendship. As she lifted the painting, a hush fell over the crowd. The royal chamber felt colder than the wind-swept mountains beyond the palace gates. Sarati's mother, Queen Elysian, watched from her throne, her face a mask of disapproval. Sarati's sister, Lady Marana, turned her chin away with a faint sneer. The court nobles, clad in robes of deep crimson and gold, shifted uncomfortably. No music played. No trumpets announced her vision. Sarati's hands trembled, but she held the image aloft, hoping for at least one approving glance. Silence stretched until a single voice, sharp and mocking, broke through. "Dangerous fantasy," the voice hissed. It belonged to Chancellor Darien, a man who had advised every monarch before Sarati's family. His words ripped through the stillness like a cold blade. Others murmured their agreement. Some whispered about old loyalties and human arrogance. Sarati felt each whispered word like a weight pressing on her shoulders. She met the Chancellor's eyes and refused to look away, but his stare was ice. When the ceremony ended, no one clapped. No one smiled. Sarati's guardians stepped forward, their faces stern. "Your vision is reckless," her father said, voice taut. "You bring shame upon your house." Her mother echoed the sentiment in softer tones, but the meaning was the same. Sarati's chest tightened. She realized then how far she stood from the people she had loved all her life. Not even her family could see hope in her dream. Instead of retreating to her chambers, Sarati walked into the marble hall alone. Each step echoed like a drum of sorrow. She carried her canvas, wrapped in cloth, and her small traveling pack. Servants parted but did not bow. Guards lowered their eyes. No one spoke. At the palace gates, under the pale blue sky, she paused. Valera's scent, burnt citrus, and sea salt filled her lungs. It was home, and it was also the place that would never accept her. With a steady breath, Sarati stepped beyond the gate, and into the world she had never known. She would find a place where her ideas could take root. She would meet strangers who shared her hope. She would learn that friendship and trust could be stronger than fear. As she walked down the wide road leading away from the palace, the silver-framed painting pressed against her chest. She whispered a promise to herself. She would return one day, and Valera would see the beauty of unity. Till then, she would carry her dream like a flame against the gathering shadows. Sarati pressed onward across the vast salt flats, her boots leaving faint imprints in the pale ground. The sun beat down without mercy, turning her breath into short, hot bursts. She wrapped a light scarf around her mouth to keep out the fine salt dust. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she reminded herself of her promise. She would find a place where her dream could live. By midday, her water skin was nearly empty. She paused beside a cluster of scrub bushes, hoping to find moisture. In their roots, with careful hands, she dug small holes around the plant, searching for damp earth. She found only dry sand. Fatigue weighed on her limbs, and doubt crept into her mind. Yet she stood and continued scanning the horizon for anything that hinted at life. As the twin suns dipped low, the flats turned silver under the fading light. Sarati's throat burned with thirst and her stomach twisted in hunger. She took one last sip from her water skin, then secured it beneath her pack. A pale moon rose, and the wind shifted, carrying a faint hum that did not belong to the open. Plains curious, she lifted her head. Far ahead, half buried in the salt, lay a sleek ship unlike any she had seen. Its hull gleamed under the moonlight, smooth and dark. Wide viewing ports reflected the stars. Sarati's heart fluttered. Could this be her chance? She hurried forward, each step echoing in the still night. Closer now, she discovered the ship. Rested on sturdy landing legs, a faint glow pulsed from beneath its frame. Roddy approached cautiously, her hand on the hilt of a small knife at her waist for survival, not confrontation. She tapped on a metal panel beside the hatch. Panel slid aside with a soft hiss, and a voice spoke in a warm tone. "Hello," said the voice. "Are you all right?" Roddy blinked. Before her stood a tall figure in simple flight overalls. His skin was pale by Valerian standards, and his dark hair framed alert eyes. He held a small canteen in one hand. "I am Roddy," she replied. Her voice soft but clear. I am lost and tired." The human pilot offered the canteen. "I'm Captain Marcus Vale. Here, drink." Roddy drank gratefully until the canteen was empty. Her throat no longer felt like sandpaper. Marcus guided her into the ship's small cabin. Soft lights glowed along the walls, and a low hum of power filled the air. He fetched a food pack from a storage locker. Roddy accepted it, savoring the sweet bread and dried fruit. She had not eaten in a full cycle of the suns. As she ate, she watched Marcus work at the control panel. He did not rush her or ask demanding questions. He simply moved with a gentle confidence. When she finished, she folded her legs and looked at him. "Why help me?" she asked. Marcus smiled kindly. "Because you needed help. That is enough reason." Roddy's eyes filled with relief. She realized then how rare kindness could be in a world full of fear and prejudice. Marcus pointed to a hollow map glowing on a console. "I came here to chart unexplored regions. I can take you to a safe place." Roddy studied the map. Distant worlds appeared, some bright with known colonies, others marked uncharted. Her heart lifted at the thought of open skies and new faces. "I would be honored," she said. Marcus nodded and began inputting coordinates. The ship vibrated as its engines powered up. Roddy felt the gentle lift as the landing legs retracted. Through the viewing port, the salt flats grew smaller as the ship rose toward the stars. Roddy pressed her hand against the glass. The world she had known slipped away, and with it, the pain of rejection. Ahead lay new horizons, and with Marcus's help, she believed she could make her dream real. Roddy settled into the observation dome as the stars drifted past the reinforced glass. She pulled her silver-framed painting from its protective case and unwrapped it carefully.
Yes.
Marcus glanced over with curiosity in his warm eyes. "This is my vision," she said softly, holding the canvas steady. A human and a Valerian standing together in peace. Marcus leaned closer. "It's beautiful," he said. Roddy's cheeks warmed. "Thank you. My people could not see it." She lowered her gaze. "They called it dangerous." Marcus rested a hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes new ideas scare people. They fear what they do not understand." For the first time in many cycles, Roddy felt hope bloom inside her. She turned to the hollow viewer beside her seat, which showed distant worlds and glowing trade routes. "Where will we go next?" "I plan to chart the Andromeda Reach," Marcus explained, tapping a point on the map. "Little is known about its neutral worlds. They welcome travelers without bias." Roddy traced the route with her finger. "Then let us go there." Marcus activated the engines, and the ship hummed with steady power. Outside, nebulae glowed violet and gold. Roddy pressed her cheek against the glass, feeling the gentle pull of acceleration. They spent hours together. In quiet companionship, Roddy taught Marcus Valerian language by pointing at constellations and naming each star cluster. Marcus repeated the words with careful accent. In turn, he taught her human history, stories of Earth's explorers, of wanderers who crossed galaxies. To learn from strangers, at one point, Marcus offered Roddy a simple game of memory. He placed colored crystals in a pattern on the holotable. "You copy my pattern," he said. Roddy smiled and accepted the challenge. They played until laughter echoed through the cabin. With each round, they grew more at ease. Later, Roddy showed Marcus how to blend pigments the Valians used for their art. She brought out small vials of crushed minerals, sapphire blue, rose quartz pink, and sunstone orange. Marcus held the vials with care. "These colors are unlike any on Earth," he said. "They shimmer with your world's light." Roddy dipped a brush into the sunstone pigment and painted a streak across a blank holocanvas. She handed Marcus a brush. Hesitant at first, he copied her strokes, mixing the colors to create a gentle sunrise over distant mountains. When he finished, Sarati studied his work. "It is perfect," she said. "You have skill." Marcus grinned. "Only because you showed me." The glow of shared creation warmed the cabin more than the lights ever could, Sarati realized there. Friendship was growing into something deeper. She felt no fear when Marcus placed his hand near hers on the table. Instead, she felt safe as the ship glided into the Andromeda Reach. A green world emerged on the holomap. Forests and rivers twisted. Across its surface, Marcus dimmed the lights and engaged the descent thrusters. Through the ports, Sarati saw rolling hills and spired cities made of living wood. Marcus placed a steady hand on her back as they prepared to land. Sarati took a deep breath of recycled air, her heart pounding with excitement. "Whatever happens," Marcus said gently, "I will stand by you." Sarati met his gaze, her eyes bright. In the soft glow of the holomap, she felt ready to face any challenge. With Marcus's kindness and her own courage, she knew her dream of unity would one day become real. Sarati and Marcus stepped onto the soft grass of the green world, the air rich with the scent of wildflowers. Sunlight filtered through tall trees whose leaves shimmered like glass. Marcus carried a portable holoscanner, and Sarati held her silver-framed painting. Together, they followed the moss-covered steps that led toward a spired temple built from smooth white stone. They entered the ancient hall, where columns arched overhead and vines curled along every surface. Sunlight from high windows painted the floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. Sarati's breath caught as she saw the first mural, two figures, one human and one Valerian, their hands joined over a bowl of water that glowed with inner light. The style was simple yet filled with warmth. "Look," Sarati whispered, running her finger along the mural's edge. "This is our story. It speaks of friendship." Marcus knelt beside the mural, tapping his scanner against the stone. "Dates back thousands of years," he said softly. "These people believed in unity long before our worlds met." Sarati's heart lifted at his words. She studied the figures' faces, calm eyes, gentle smiles. Around them, smaller scenes showed. Shared festivals, joint gardens, and children learning both languages. Each image made Sarati believe once more that her dream was worthy. They moved deeper into the temple, guided by faint glow strips along the walls. In a side chamber, a wide basin held clear water. Sarati knelt and dipped a fingertip into the pool. It rippled, reflecting the murals above in delicate patterns. "Water of memory," Marcus read from an inscription. "It preserves stories for those who listen." He placed a hand gently beside hers. The cool water felt alive under their touch. Sarati closed her eyes and whispered her vision. Peace between Valera Prime and Earth. Marcus repeated her words in the human tongue. Their voices mingled. Light flickered in the basin. Waves of soft blue swept across the water's surface, casting ripples of color against the walls. They watched in awe as images rose from the basin itself. A Valoran child sharing a toy with a human boy, elders exchanging plants, dancers twisting. Beneath floating lanterns, the memory water painted the past in living light. Sarati turned to Marcus, her eyes bright. "This place remembers unity. It shows what we can become." Marcus smiled and offered her his hand. "Then we must share." They spent the cycle of the sun cataloging each mural, recording detailed holos for the archives. Sarati traced pigment patterns with gentle care, noting how the Valerans mixed stones to create colors that shone in darkness. Marcus scanned inscriptions and translated phrases from the ancient tongue. Outside, the sky deepened to lavender as twin moons rose. They paused on a balcony overlooking a courtyard filled with wind, whispering grasses. Sarati pressed her painting to her chest and gazed at the distant forest. "I wish my people could see this," she said. "They would understand." Marcus placed an arm around her shoulders. "They will," he answered. "We will bring these records home." Sarati leaned into his warmth, feeling the steady beat of hope. As stars appeared, she imagined Valera Prime and Earth receiving these images, hearts opening in welcome instead of fear. A soft breeze carried the scent of jasmine, and Sarati closed her eyes. She felt the gentle pulse of the ancient temple beneath her feet, as if it urged her onward. Marcus stepped beside her, offering a comforting presence. Together, they watched the moons rise high above the spired towers. In that moment, Sarati realized that every step of their journey had led here to a place where the past spoke of unity, and the future could be written in trust. With Marcus's hand in hers and the memory of the murals glowing in their minds, Sarati knew she was ready to carry this message of friendship across the stars, ready to stand before her people with proof that their worlds had always been destined to walk side by side. And as the night grew still, Sarati and Marcus stood together on the ancient balcony, bound by hope and guided by the gentle light of unity. The next morning, soft golden light spilled across the forest clearing as Marcus and Sarati prepared their message. Inside the ship, they set up a recording station beside the holoprojector. Sarati carefully placed her painting next to the crystal archive they had taken from the ancient temple. Marcus checked the system. We're ready. This message will go live to Valera's public channels and to Earth's neutral council too. Sarati stood in front of the camera, her long hair braided with silver threads. Her heart beat fast, but she remembered the murals and the memory water. She wasn't alone. Marcus stood nearby, his quiet strength giving her courage. She looked into the lens and began to speak in simple, clear Valeran. To the people of Valera Prime, I am Sarati, once your princess, now a traveler among the stars. You cast me out for believing in peace, but I did not stop believing. Marcus nodded in encouragement, and Sarati continued. We found an ancient place one that remembers when Valerans and humans stood together. It holds proof that our worlds once lived in harmony. The past is not lost. It is calling to us again. She stepped aside and gestured toward the glowing crystal archive. A soft hum filled the cabin as the holoprojector lit up, showing the murals, humans and Valians planting together, dancing under starlight, raising children with shared laughter. These are not dreams, Sarati said. These are memories. Stepped forward, speaking calmly in his Earth's-accented Valoran. I am Captain Marcus Vale. I helped find this archive with Sarati. I have seen the truth with my own eyes. She seeks not war, but peace. She seeks a future for both our worlds. Sarati smiled softly at him, then turned back to the lens. I ask not for power, ask for a chance. Let this message open hearts. Let it plant seeds of unity where fear once grew. Marcus ended the recording and sent the message to the stars. As it traveled toward Valera Prime, silence settled between them. Outside, birds sang among the trees. The wind stirred the grass gently. Later that day, the first reply arrived. Neutral Council ship sent a signal back. We have received your message. It is spreading fast. Prepare for visitors. Sarati's hands trembled. Do you think they will believe me? Marcus stepped closer. Some will, and that's enough to start change. But not everyone wanted change. 2 cycles later, a dark-colored Valeran patrol ship entered orbit. Its message was brief and cold. Sarati, you are under order of return. You stand accused of conspiracy. With an outsider, Sarati read the message twice. Her breath caught. They think I want to conquer Valera. With you. Marcus shook his head. That's not true, but some still fear unity. They had little time. Marcus activated the ship's defense shield and opened the comms. We are peaceful. We asked for a fair meeting. Let words speak before judgment. No reply came. Instead, a second message flashed on screen this time, from a hidden channel. A familiar face appeared. It was Lady Mirana, Sarati's sister. Her voice was tight but calm. I saw your message, Sarati. Not all of us believe. The lies return. Speak before the High Council. I will stand with you. Sarati's eyes filled with emotion. She never believed in me before. Marcus nodded gently. But now she sees what you're doing. This is your moment. Sarati looked out the viewing window toward Valera Prime's direction. The stars beyond were distant but shining. With courage swelling in her chest, she turned to Marcus. "Then we return," she said, not with fear, but with truth. Marcus placed a gentle hand over hers. "I'll be with you, every step." As the ship changed course and began its journey home, Sarati knew the real test was coming. But she wasn't the same girl who had walked alone from the palace gates. She had seen what unity looked like. Now she would help her people see it too. The ship entered Valera Prime's orbit under a quiet sky. From above, the capital looked the same, all silver towers, wide bridges, and glowing gardens, but everything felt different to Sarati. She stood at the viewing window, her hands clasped in front of her, heart beating like a drum. This was her home, but she was no longer the same person who had once walked its royal halls. Marcus stood beside her, dressed in clean diplomatic attire with Earth's peace symbol on his chest. His calm presence steadied her nerves. "Ready?" he asked gently. Sarati took a deep breath. "I must be." A royal shuttle met them in the skyport garden. It was quiet, with only 2 guards and a young pilot. None of them wore weapons. Lady Marana stood waiting. Her long coat shimmered with silver trim, and for the first time, there was softness in her eyes. "Welcome home, sister," Marana said. Sarati bowed slightly. "Thank you for calling me back." Marana stepped forward and hugged her. Froze for a moment, then slowly returned the embrace. Marcus smiled quietly, staying close, but respectful. "I cannot promise safety," Marana whispered, "but I promise truth." They entered the shuttle together. As it glided over the city, Sarati saw screens on buildings displaying her message from the archive. People stood in groups, watching the murals of old unity between humans and Valyrians. No one jeered. Many looked thoughtful. At the palace, the great doors opened once more for Sarati. The familiar scent of clean stone and blooming sky petals rushed over her, but this time, she was not walking alone. Marcus walked beside her, his step strong, his eyes steady. The High Council chamber was already full. Nobles, scholars, and citizens sat in rows around the glowing dais. The Queen and King sat at the highest point, silent and unreadable. As Sarati stepped into the center, soft murmurs rose around her. Her name passed through the room like wind. A counselor stood. "Princess Sarati, you are charged with defiance of royal order and alignment with foreign power. Do you wish to speak?" Sarati nodded. "I do." She stepped forward, raised her chin, and spoke with clear words. "I left not to rebel, but to seek truth. I found an ancient temple, a place that remembers who we used to be. Valorans and humans once lived as friends. We planted together, dreamed together. That memory still lives." She tapped a small device, and the crystal archive projected the murals above the council floor. Gasps rose. Murmurs grew louder. Marcus stepped up beside her. "I am Captain Marcus Vale. I helped her find this temple. I stand here not as an enemy, but as a friend. We offer peace, not fear." The room fell. Quiet again. The Queen leaned forward slowly. "Why should we believe this is not a trick?" Sarati looked into her mother's eyes. "Because fear has ruled us too long. If we don't open our hearts, we will always remain trapped by the past. I only ask for one chance to try again with honesty, not weapons." A long silence followed. Then an elder counselor stood and spoke. "Let the people decide. Let us show this message across every district and ask them. If they still believe in unity, let her speak freely." Voices began to agree one by one until the whole room hummed with soft approval. The Queen finally nodded. "Then we shall see." As Sarati stepped back, Marcus gently took her hand and squeezed it. She turned to him, her eyes full of silent emotion. Outside, the wind blew softly through the gardens. The painting of unity stood near the dais, glowing under the chamber lights. As people began to leave, a feeling of quiet hope spread through the palace, like dawn breaking after a long night. Sarati knew it wasn't over, but she had been heard, and sometimes being heard was the first step to changing everything. For the next 3 days, Sarati's message played across every screen and speaker on Valera Prime, from the cold northern towers to the warm market streets. People watched the ancient murals and listened to her soft, honest voice. Children asked questions, elders remembered forgotten stories, and slowly something began to shift. In the palace garden, Sarati walked alone beneath the blooming sky flowers. The wind was gentle, and the sky held a soft golden light. She stopped beside the old stone fountain where she once played as a child. Her fingers touched the cool water, and her reflection looked back, older, wiser, still hopeful. Footsteps sounded behind her. She turned and saw Marcus walking slowly toward her. He wore no uniform today, only simple clothing and calm colors. His eyes were kind, as always. "They're talking about building a new council," he said, standing beside her. "One with human voices, too." Sarati smiled. "Then maybe it worked." He nodded. "More than maybe." Else could Sarati look down. "Not just me. You've helped me carry this hope." They sat on the stone bench near the fountain. Birds chirped in the tall branches. It felt peaceful, like a world waiting to begin again. "I was afraid they wouldn't listen," Sarati said softly. "That I would fail." "Hey, you didn't," Marcus replied. "You made them feel something stronger than fear. That's rare." She looked at him, her eyes gentle. "I've seen so many things with you, stars, temples, laughter. Trust you stood with me when I had nothing left." Met her gaze, calm and steady. "I will keep standing with you, always." Sarati looked down at her hands, then slowly reached for his. She held them in hers, firm but warm. "I have one more question to ask," she said. Her voice barely a whisper. He waited. She took a breath and looked into his eyes. "Will you be my husband?" Marcus didn't speak right away. His face held. Surprise, then joy, then something deeper. He gently squeezed her hands. "Yes," he said quietly. "Yes, Sarati," real smile that reached her eyes. The garden seemed to glow brighter around them, as if nature itself had paused to listen. Later that day, the royal court gathered once more. This time, there was no trial. No judgment. Just a celebration. People from all across Valera and visitors from Earth stood side by side in the grand courtyard. Flowers decorated the walls. Soft music filled the air. Queen Elysian stepped forward, her voice clear. "We welcome a new path, one of peace, one of shared future. And we bless this union between Valera and Earth, and between two brave souls who remind us what courage looks like." Sarati walked through the garden wearing a simple silver robe. Marcus waited beneath the flowering tree, dressed in a light blue tunic. As she reached him, people from both worlds clapped softly, some with tears in their eyes. They joined hands beneath the open sky, surrounded by blossoms and song. "I once stood alone," Sarati said, her voice calm and proud. "But now I stand, with someone who believed in me when no one else would." Marcus looked at her and smiled. "And I promise to always walk with you wherever your dream leads." Together, they sealed their vows, not with grand words, but with a quiet look full of meaning. And so, under the light of the setting suns, Sarati and Marcus began a new story. It's not just of love, but of healing, of unity, of two worlds finding each other again, not through power, but through patience, friendship, and hope. The stars above shimmered softly, and somewhere in the sky, a silver-framed painting glowed quietly in the palace gallery, a reminder of a dream once rejected and finally embraced.